Hi everyone, this is Stan, welcome to my free speech channel, and today let's discuss two topics. First one is how incompetent is President Joe Biden on Asian politics and China in particular, and the second one is going to be the development of the relationships between Central and Eastern European countries and China. Joe Biden took part in his first town hall since becoming the president. He has been answering the questions of Anderson Cooper and the audience in Milwaukee. Watching the whole town hall with Joe Biden was pretty challenging for me because of his constant mumbling, and especially the part that is related to China. When he started talking about Asia and in China in particular, my first reaction was, what on earth is this man talking about? Does he really mean what he is saying? Or maybe he didn't sleep well, or maybe when he went out of his basement he took the wrong pill. I don't know, because I couldn't believe that the president of the United States, leader of the free world, could be this incompetent in Asian politics, and especially in China. I had to look through the transcript, and when I read it, oh my god, it's even worse than I thought. Sure, many people had doubts in regards to Joe Biden's Asian politics, especially in his relations with China, because, you know, his family ties with China, Antony Blinken's ties with China while working at West Exec Advisors, Kamala Harris's ties with China, Linda Thomas Greenfield's speech at Confucius Institute, and all of the former Obama administration members, how soft have they been on China and the Communist Party. But this time we heard from the president himself what will be his attitudes towards China. And I will talk about some further steps a little bit later, as the whole narrative will be changed in a slow pace. As right now the American citizens and the whole world is actually pretty angry at what the CCP has been doing about concealing the pandemic, about intellectual property theft, about its aggressive actions on Indian borders, about constant threats to Taiwan, how China is oppressing Hong Kong, about genocide of Uyghur people in Xinjiang, and so on and so forth. We all know what the Chinese government is doing to its own people and to the whole world. During this town hall, when Joe Biden mentioned China for the first time, what did he say? I remember you questioning me when I came back from China, and I said, I predict within less than a year, they're going to end their one China policy. And I got clobbered by saying, because they said, Biden didn't talk about the fact that how immoral it was. And it was when we were running against the Republican ticket led by Mitt Romney, a fine guy. He says that he predicts that China will end its one China policy, and that one China policy is immoral. Probably he meant, I don't know, one child policy. One of the most terrible human rights abuses conducted by the Chinese government, when one woman was not allowed to have more than one child. It dates back to the 70s, and many forceful abortions have been conducted. Many Chinese people don't have passports, don't have any ID documents because they have been born illegally. There are whole villages of people without any proper registration. But that's a different topic. He said that he wanted to end one China policy. What is one China policy? It's a policy asserting that there is only one state under the name of China. So you have to decide if you have the diplomatic relationships with either Republic of China, which is Taiwan, or People's Republic of China, which is China. I've been talking about the issue for a long time on my channel, and I think that the best way for Taiwan to become a full member of the international community is just to change the name of the country and get rid of the name China, because it has nothing to do with China, actually. China has no right to rule over Taiwan. The sovereignty of Taiwan belongs to the Taiwanese people, and the Communist China never ruled the country. Right now, Taiwan is a democracy. It's a country with free elections, direct elections. It's a country that guarantees the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all the basic human rights, and not a dictatorship that is abusing human rights on a daily basis, which is Communist China. So China didn't end its one China policy. They still claim Taiwan as a part of their territory, even though they have no right under international law to gain control over Taiwan. Why? And if you take a look at San Francisco Peace Treaty or the Treaty of Taipei, it doesn't say there that Taiwan belongs to China. Not a single word there states that. Only the fact that Japan is renouncing its sovereignty over Taiwan. And China has been playing many legal games trying to prove that it has the right to rule over Taiwan, but the documents they have been using, firstly, those documents don't have any legal force in determining the belonging of a particular piece of land to any other country, or in determining sovereignty of a state. Because what documents has China been using? It's Potsdam Declaration, Cairo Declaration, and the three communiques. The three communiques is a absolutely different thing, because the United States doesn't agree that there is one China. They say that they acknowledge China's point of view, but they don't agree with that. That's a very big difference, actually. But Cairo Declaration and Potsdam Declaration, they don't have any binding force in determining the sovereignty of any particular place. What documents matter here? Firstly, it's the Shimonoseki Treaty of 1895, when Taiwan became a part of the Japanese Empire. Then it's San Francisco Peace Treaty and the Treaty of Taipei, where Japan renounced its rights over Taiwan. But not a single word in those two treaties says that Taiwan should belong to China, to any kind of China. Therefore, all of those claims are illegal. And right now, Taiwan is a democracy. It's a democratic state that elects its own officials, its own president, its own legislature. It protects the human rights. It guarantees freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, and so on and so forth. It's a developed state. It's one of the freest countries in the world, having nothing to do in common with China. But the old KMT government that came there after 1945, it was supposed to do temporarily. But then KMT lost the civil war, established dictatorship, murdering people, imposing martial law. And martial law lasted up until 1987. And the first democratic elections of the president, the direct elections of the president of Taiwan, took place in 1996. So there is so-called 1996 consensus, is that the Taiwanese people decided to elect their own president, their own official. And therefore, right now, the ROC government that is in Taiwan, it's very different from the ROC government that came to Taiwan, the Chiang Kai-Shek government. Why? Because right now they have the support of the people, and there are absolutely different people ruling the country. And the only thing that those two governments have in common is the name, ROC, which in my opinion should be changed to avoid any kinds of confusion with the communist China and to make the life easier for Taiwan on international arena. Because most of the Taiwanese people, they don't want to have anything in common with China. They're not Chinese and they don't consider themselves Chinese. They have been influenced by Chinese culture, but only partially. Taiwan has also been long under the influence of Japanese culture, of Portuguese culture, of Spanish culture, of Dutch culture. Taiwan also has very vibrant culture of indigenous peoples. It's a melting pot of cultures, and Taiwanese are proud of it. What prevents Taiwan from amending the constitution and changing the country's name is the aggression from China, because they always are threatening Taiwan with war, that they will attack and they will take this island nation by force. And it's a shame that many countries want to do business with such a dictatorship and betraying an Asian democracy. The world is helping the criminals here. A regime which is illegal in China, illegal in international arena, that doesn't abide by the law, that doesn't follow all of the treaties that they sign, and that is just a bully. Much worse than the Soviet Union was, actually. But I think we can discuss it in a different video. Coming back to Biden's town call. Anderson Cooper said that Biden has talked to Chinese president. He's not a president. And I am talking about it all the time. Xi Jinping is a chairman or general secretary. He is not a president. He is not a democratically elected leader. You should not confuse Xi Jinping with Joe Biden, with Donald Trump, with President Macron, with President Duda, with any presidents that have been legally elected, with President Tsai Ing-wen. He is a dictator that has not been democratically elected. Chinese people didn't have a say that they want to have Mr. Xi Jinping, that thug, as their leader. Calling him a president is such a hypocrisy. Stop doing that. Anderson Cooper also asked him about the Uyghurs, human rights abuses in China, and what Biden said there is just disgusting. Let's take a look. And that's not so much refugee, but I talked about it. I said, look, Chinese leaders. If you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time China, when has been victimized by the outer world, is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, to vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I pointed out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in the western mountains of China, and Taiwan, trying to end one China policy by making it forceful. I said, by the way, he said he gets it. Firstly, he said how the unification, the unity of China is important for China to stay strong. Wow, that's just so Chinese propaganda. If you turn on your CGTN, oh, in Europe it shouldn't be broadcasting anymore. Good thing. If you turn on your CGTN or CCTV or in China, they are talking about it all the day, every day. Biden is just mimicking it. Is he working as another mouthpiece of Chinese propaganda? Wow. Then he said he's not going to speak out against what China is doing in Hong Kong, in Xinjiang, about Chinese aggression towards Taiwan. Wow, that probably is another mistake, but so many mistakes in this speech. Christ almighty. Then Uyghurs in western mountains of China. That's not accurate. There are mountains in Xinjiang, in East Turkestan, but not all the Uyghurs live in the mountains. It's a huge region. It has different terrain. And the CCP is not only murdering Uyghurs that live in the mountains. They're taking Uyghurs from all around Xinjiang to their concentration camps. Raping them, sterilizing them, brainwashing, eradicating their culture, not letting them go to their mosques, not allowing them to participate in mass shrabs. And what is trying to end one China policy in Taiwan? Honestly, I don't get it. What does he mean by that? How is China going to end one China policy in Taiwan? Do you know what China has been talking about for all those ages? How important is one China policy, and that under one China policy Taiwan should belong to China? Oh my god, Joe, are you really such an incompetent man? Or you're stupid? Or evil? All three of those, I don't know. And then, the worst thing that he said. Culturally, there are different norms that each country and their leaders are expected to follow. But my point was that when I came back from meeting with him and traveling 17,000 miles with him when I was vice president and he was vice president, and that's how I got to know him so well at the request of President Hu, not a joke, not funny. His predecessor, President Hu and President Obama, wanted us to know one another because he was going to be the president. Different cultural norms. So you mean the genocide is a different cultural norm? So according to your logic, Holocaust is also a different cultural norm. Armenian genocide is also a different cultural norm. All kinds of genocides that took place in the world are different cultural norms. And some American people think that this guy is going to be a champion of human rights? Of minorities' rights? He says that murdering Uyghurs, killing, exterminating, destroying their population is just a different cultural norm. Trying to occupy an independent nation of Taiwan is a different cultural norm. Oppressing Hong Kong is a different cultural norm. On the one hand, he says something bad about China, but if we look at the real policies of the US towards China, I think we're gonna return to Obama's times. Just all talk, no action. Or if there is any action, it's for the benefit of China. Dear US citizens, you just elected a corrupt politician with ties to Chinese dictatorship, to the CCP, to the Communist Party. Didn't the US fight with the communists during the Cold War? And right now, you think that he is a champion of the human rights. Bravo! And then, after Joe Biden's town hall, I just found another piece of news. Let's take a look. State Department lawyers concluded insufficient evidence to prove genocide in China. When State Department under Mike Pompeo said that what China is doing in East Turkestan, in Xinjiang region, in Uyghur region, is a genocide. This is absolutely correct. And it's based on international law. Yeah, right now their lawyers are saying that's a crime against humanity, then they say that it's a cultural genocide, but we just cannot use the word genocide because we don't have enough evidence. Aren't there so many Uyghur refugees all around the world? Isn't there footage enough to prove that it's a genocide? So many research papers on the Uyghur question. I mean, the world has been talking about it for years. And finally, Mike Pompeo said, yes, what's going on there, the US has to do something about it. And then pro-China president came. And right now, everything is changing. As I said before, look at Tony Blinken. Look at his ties with China. Right now, West Exec Advisors, company where Tony Blinken used to work, they are actually taking down all of the information on their ties with China. Just keep on looking. Because, you know, the United States signed Convention on Genocide. And China signed Convention on Genocide. And how does this convention define genocide? Let's take a look. There is Article 2 of the convention. It says that any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial or religious group as such, killing members of this group. That's what China is doing towards Uyghurs. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. China is doing that to Uyghurs. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Yes. Just take a look at China's actions during these years. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. How about mass sterilization of Uyghur women? Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. That's what China is doing to Uyghur people. Taking their children and just transferring them to the Chinese families. There is genocide going on in Uyghur region. What do you mean by not enough evidence? And what does it mean that we shouldn't use those strong words toward China? And because China is an economic powerhouse, we should forgive them for killing Uyghurs, for mass killings of Tibetans, for their oppressive actions towards Mongolians, for what they're doing to their members of the opposition, for their oppression of Hong Kong, for constant threats towards Taiwan. Come on, man. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is 17+1 meeting and how China is failing in Central and Eastern Europe. So during the 17+1 meeting, many of the Central and Eastern European countries decided to send lower-ranking officials to participate, which is actually a blow to China's reputation, as they have sent Xi Jinping himself, Mr. Winnie the Pooh, the elementary school graduate that they have as their chairman. So what is 17+1 mechanism? It's as vague as Belt and Road Initiative. It's about everything and nothing at the same time. At the beginning, it was 16+1, and then Greece joined, so right now it's 17+1. It can be called a so-called zombie mechanism, or just a diplomatic presence of China in Europe. Firstly, it was designed to actually disintegrate Europe and to divide Europe. Most of the infrastructure projects and the investment projects that were supposed to happen under this initiative just failed. And if you take a look at the countries participating in these mechanisms, those countries are pretty cautious while cooperating with any dictatorships, because, you know, most of them are post-communist countries, post-Soviet bloc countries, and they don't want to be influenced by communists or any kind of other dictators anymore. And therefore, while China has been promoting 5G infrastructure by Huawei, and at the same time the American initiative came out, of course most of the European countries chose America, because it's safer, and many of the Central and Eastern European countries signed up for Clean Network Initiative by the United States, because we don't want to have Chinese surveillance here. Under this initiative, Chinese companies were supposed to participate in Romania's nuclear power plant building, but right now, Romania is considering banning them. Then Czechia, our neighbor to the south, decided to exclude CGTN, which is a Chinese company, from the public bidding to build their nuclear power plant. Talking about 5G, just take a look at this map. In red, there are 17+1 countries. And then there are countries that signed Memorandum of Understanding with the United States on 5G, or decided to participate in Clean Network Initiative. Yeah, there are some countries that are still not members of Clean Network Initiative, like Hungary, like Croatia, and Montenegro. But the vast majority of the countries still are going to work with the United States on their 5G network, and not with China, which also is actually much better for the data security and for the protection of our core values. So yeah, 17+1 is just another disappointment, and just another way of China to use and colonize the whole world. Just using what you can provide, but not delivering on promises. And it's good that the European countries are waking up and are starting to understand what China is doing and what are the plans of China, but it still is a very long road to truly decouple from this dictatorship economically. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please press like, subscribe, and share. You can also support me on Patreon. The link is here and in the description below. This is Stan, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.
天上不会掉馅儿饼，大家撸起袖子加油干！加油干！